Hi and welcome to Our Small Table. Today we're making allergy-free peppermint frosting. Here's our finished product. Let's see how we got here. This first step is going to look a little bit silly because I'm just mixing shortening basically into itself. But you need to beat some air into the shortening or your frosting won't have any fluff to it. It won't be a good consistency. If we were doing a larger batch of frosting, then you would use a hand mixer or a stand mixer to do this. But for such a small amount, that is ridiculous, bordering on impossible. It's just really hard to get air into such a small amount of vegetable shortening. If you're looking for a different flavor, you can use vegan, lactose, dairy-free butter in place of the shortening, and it'll still be allergy-free. But we're going to use some flavoring on this, and so we don't need the butter flavor, and the lack of flavor that shortening has will actually work to our advantage. So that's beaten up pretty well. If you don't have a mini whisk, you can do this with a fork. I've done it with a fork many, many times, and it does work. You just have to make sure that you're getting a lot of movement into it. And we're going to add the powdered sugar in small amounts so we don't make a big cloudy mess. This is the powdered sugar that we made ourselves in a previous video. And it will very rapidly seem like way too much powdered sugar. But we'll get it all in there. I'm going to incorporate that all in, and I'll be right back. As you can see, if I can get it on the camera, my white balance is off a little bit. It really does look like this cannot possibly be the right amount of powdered sugar. We've basically just made some large clumps here. Get some of that shortening that's stuck to the whisk. It will improve quite a lot in texture once we add the dairy-free milk. I'm using almond milk on this occasion. It's what's available to me locally, but you can also use rice milk, soy milk, whatever your preference is. And I'm just going to add about half of it to start with. This is the only problem with using a balloon whisk for this, is that it all sticks up inside. So once you've beaten the air into the shortening, you can feel free to switch to a spoon or something if you prefer that. And the rest of our milk. And you just want to get it all incorporated and fluffed up. So I'm going to leap forward in time after I fight with this whisk a little bit, and we'll see how it looks. And we're going to add some extract. I'm using peppermint extract here. You want to be very careful with your extracts. Not all of them are allergy-free, especially depending on what the allergies are. My peppermint extract is corn-free and gluten-free. I've checked it. But if you don't feel confident about that, use something else. If you want to make it vanilla flavored, Probably the best way is to scrape out the caviar in an actual vanilla bean and add that instead of using extract. One of the real joys of homemade frosting is that you can adjust the consistency to your preference. If it's thicker than you want it to be, you can add a very small amount of milk. And since we're using such small amounts of everything, it's a small batch, so you really do want to be very, very scant with it. You don't want to be doing a whole teaspoon. Doesn't seem like very much until you add it. If it's thinner than you'd like, then you add a little bit more powdered sugar, and it'll thicken right up. But this looks like about the texture that I'd like for frosting. This might be just a little bit grainier than standard frosting, depending on how well you ground down the sugar when making your powdered sugar from the previous video. If you've done a good job of getting a really fine grind on it, then this will be exactly like store-bought frosting or homemade frosting that is not allergy-free. But if it didn't grind quite as finely, then you might get a little bit feeling of sugar on your tongue. It still tastes fantastic. So that is all there is to it, and we'll be putting this to use in our next. Thanks for joining me today at OurSmallTable. The recipe we've used is linked in the video description and is available at OurSmallTable.com. Next time we're making some cupcakes for this frosting, click subscribe so you don't miss out.